As settlers began to move west, they took it upon themselves to make new roads and transportation, such as the Lancaster Turnpike, which was built in the 1790s. More companies began to build more and more turnpikes and roads. And with that, they began to add tolls along those roads. A toll is something you put on a road to say that, hey, you need to pay to use this road. Many people disagreed with it, but many people agreed with it, including the people that built those roads, so they could actually get paid for people using them. Flatboat travel. In the West, people often use flatboats to travel along rivers, or long distances including rivers. And to save money, they often use them, because they were very cheap to make and very cheap to use, and could handle about 5 or 6 people at one time. It was much cheaper than paying the tolls used on turnpikes and roads that were built. Also saving money without using a wagon or something along those lines, or even a steamboat if you were poor. This was an often very cheap choice for people and a very essential choice in their lives. Fitch and Fulton. Fitch was an inventor in 1787. He invented the first idea of the steamboat and the first steamboat. And when he patented it by Congress, it worked. He soon opened a ferry business, but soon went out of business because it was very expensive and he had almost no customers whatsoever. Fulton had exceeded where Fitch had failed. And in 1807, Fulton made his own steamboat and launched on the Delaware, and on its first run, it carried passengers on the Hudson River. The steamboat boom. After Fulton's success, steamboats became extremely popular with the public, and it revolutionized travel in the West. Some boats, though, became floating palaces with more than 3 layers which only the rich could ride on. Then other steamboats only were 1 layer or 2 layers that only the poor could ride on. And all they had for pillows were corn husks, and for blankets just shaggy rags to use. Just like our old steamboat, the Titanic, it was essentially a floating palace which only many of the rich could float on. And did you know the Titanic was actually a steamboat? The steamboat boom. After Fulton's success, steamboats became extremely popular with the public, and it revolutionized travel in the West. Some boats, though, became floating palaces with more than 3 layers which only the rich could ride on. Then other steamboats only were 1 layer or 2 layers that only the poor could ride on. And all they had for pillows were corn husks, and for blankets just shaggy rags to use. The Erie Canal. The first canals were only typically a few miles long. But in the 1800s, the New Yorkers wanted to build a canal linking all of the Great Lakes. A lot of people, including the president, thought it was madness, but they eventually built it in a long and hard process. And in 1825, the job had been completed. So they started a cannon fire in Buffalo, New York, and they continued that cannon noise all the way down from each town to indicate that it was finished, along that route. This took 80 minutes to actually send the message along to all the towns on that route, which is quite fast, including that time era. Lowbridge was inspired by the canals, because when the ferry came through, they had to send someone ashore to say at the flatboat or boat or whatever they were using to travel, see if a bridge was down or something was hanging low. So they had to yell everybody down, so no one would get knocked off the boat or killed or injured in any form of way.